bro. All right, so welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday. Starting a couple minutes late, my apologies. I had to relog into our streaming service because I've been having problems with NFL Plus, and apparently I'm not the only one. So I had to like clear out all my settings, which then logged me out of everything. So I had to relog into everything. So here we are. We are going to recap the Packers game in Brazil and their upcoming matchup with the Colts. When we get started here, we're going to go through our 3 stars, our underrated performer, like we always do, and then we're going to recap the game. So here we go.
Welcome to another live episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we discuss the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, Badgers football, and basketball from an optimistic perspective. Wisco Fanatics is brought to you by Cardboard Legacy, Wisconsin's most complete sports card shop. Buy, sell, grade, and consign all at their location in Oshkosh.
Alrighty, so welcome back. Here we are, another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday. All of our shows are going to be on Tuesdays this year, so we give people a chances to be able to watch the show during the week if they so choose. So today we are recapping Week 1 against the Eagles, and then we will be previewing their upcoming matchup with the Colts. So we're going to start with our 3 stars of the game, and Bryant has number 1.
Yeah, so no surprise, it was Jayden Reed. Had a monster game. He had that rushing touchdown that kind of really got us going, which is gorgeous running through the line there. And then, for 33 yards. And then he had another 138 yards receiving. Of course, that 70-yard touchdown, which was a bomb. And got us really going there. Honestly, I think the 70-yard touchdown was nice, but I think his most impressive play was probably that catch at the end of the game. That was just a nasty, like, Jared Cook type of catch.
Strongly agree. Agree.
I'll talk more about why that's a little frustrating later. Just a foreshadow, but just an absolutely monster game by Jayden Reed. He also had the one taken off the board that you don't see, Green Bay usually make that mistake where they're subbing when they know they can catch somebody. I feel like they were kind of so much in shambles that even if Jordan would have looked over and waited for that guy to get out the field, I think Jayden Reed scoring on that play either way. But so just a monster game that could have been even bigger.
Yeah, so I have the second star, which is Josh Jacobs. To me, it kind of felt like a Derrick Henry type game with him where he started slow in the first half and then just had some really big, strong runs in the second half. So he finished with 16 carries for 87 yards. Didn't have a rushing touchdown, but did average 5.4 yards per carry, which I will take all day, every day, all 18 weeks. So I will love that if he can do that more. And then he also forced 4 missed tackles. So overall, a pretty solid game from Josh Jacobs. And then Jake has our third star.
Yeah, so I have Javon Bullard. He had 11 total tackles, 7 solo tackles, 1 knockout punch to A.J. Brown. Went head up with A.J. Brown and actually absolutely knocked him out. But I think the most impressive thing about Bullard for me was all the positions that he lined up on. He had 4 snaps at D-line, 14 in the box, 10 from slot corner, 3 from wide cornerback, 45 at free safety, 7 in kick coverage, 2 in punt return, and 6 in field goal / extra point block. The guy was everywhere on the field that you could possibly be. He was hitting people. He was flying around. He has some things to clean up, but his first NFL game, he lined up in 8 different positions. That's insane to me.
Impressive.
So Bullard is everything that everybody hoped he would be, flying around hitting people.
Yeah, and then Simon has our first underrated performer of the year.
Yeah, it's Emmanuel Wilson. He came out and really provided the initial spark to that run game. 446, broke a couple tackles, had a couple catches. Overall, like something that we kind of expected him to come in and take a couple carries off of Jacob's shoulders.
Kind of like a little spark plug.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to throw out there, he had a really key block on the Jayden Reed rushing touchdown. All right, so going into the defense this year, we're doing the defense first, so we can kind of transition with Jordan Love from the previous game to the next one. So we're doing offense second this year. So going to Simon, who is in the middle of eating some waffle fries or whatever he's got going on over there, loose chips, whatever it is. Simon is going to talk about the defensive scheme.
They're Pringles, sour cream and onion.
Good choice.
Delicious. I think the biggest thing that a lot of people were like kind of ready to take away was seeing more guys in the box. And one of the things that I thought was kind of interesting, a stark difference from last year, week 1 versus the Bears. The defense played 74 total defensive plays, and of those plays, they had split between the secondary. They had 39 plays where a secondary player played in the box. This past week versus the Eagles, they played 76 snaps, and between the secondary players, they had 68 snaps in the box. So you're seeing a lot more guys in the box. And I thought, I know a lot of people like kind of complained about like run defense as always. I thought they held up like decently okay against one of the best O lines in the league. Jalen Hurts absolutely killed us on the ground last time we played him 2 years ago. They held him in check, and I thought even though we didn't necessarily get the sacks or whatever, they had a decent amount of pressures or some throwaways, and they kept a really good contain on Jalen Hurts. So I thought that was like the biggest thing that I saw from the scheme wise.
Yeah, that's definitely good to bring up. Jake is going to cover next the pass rush.
So the pass rush was something that everybody was really hyped up to see this year with the new defense. There was a lot of talk about Gary and Van Ness, and you get the picture, et cetera, et cetera. There was a lot of talk about a lot of people, getting one-on-ones and such. I thought they were okay. There's going to be some things to figure out still. We need some backups to have a little bit bigger impact, in my opinion, like LVN when he comes in. Maybe give him some few more snaps. I believe he only played 14 snaps from what I read. And then, we have to wait for Enagbare to get back up to speed. Now, obviously, we avoided some catastrophic injury with him, really. But for him to be available week 1 is amazing in itself. So hopefully he can get healthier as the season goes on as well. But they did have 15 hurries from 10 different players, so I thought that was good. Clark led the way with 4. Wyatt and Gary both had 2. The rest of these players all have 1. McDuffie, Slayton, Bullard, Van Ness, Brooks, Nixon, and Smith. So it's great to see that the hurries are coming from all 3 levels of the defense. We had 2 quarterback hits, McDuffie and Nixon, and we had 2 sacks. And if you picked Keyshawn Nixon to have the first sack of the year, I want to know if you know the lottery numbers, because there's no goddamn way that somebody predicted that. But good for him. Gary's sack was absolutely monstrous. He had a crazy series. If you joined us, you got to see Simon actually show emotion for once in his life, so that was exciting for me. Almost as exciting as the Rashawn Gary sack was Simon showing some emotion. But other than that, I think the pass rush was good.
Reggie's still fully believing in Packers to the Super Bowl. If Love only ends up missing 2 or 3 games, like there's nothing to say that the season is derailed.
Just a little detour. A little detour.
Yeah.
I think that's totally in the realm of possibility too. Like,
I strongly agree as well. All right, so going to the D-line, Jake touched on it already with LVN. Only playing 19 snaps this game. So overall, I think the D-line played okay. The Eagles had 144 yards rushing, including 109 by Saquon, who is very good, but still a night and day difference from the 300 plus that they put up when the Packers and Eagles played in 2022. So like Jake said, if you watched our watch party and our post game, I do think the defense as a whole did a decent job of getting pressure on Hurts, but his mobility does help negate some of that pressure. We talked about that during the game. And there's just nothing wrong with giving Jalen Hurts credit for being good at escaping pressure. That's just part of his game, is to be mobile so that he can escape some of that pressure and obviously gain yardage with his legs. Now, that said, Hurts had 13 rushing attempts for 33 yards. That's a good job by the defense, starting with the defensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Clark did have 4 of those pressures, like Jake said. And then he did have the defensive holding call, which unfortunately was the correct call. He did grab Saquon as he was trying to leak out of the backfield. So that was the correct call on Kenny Clark there. And then it's the first week of the 4-3. So I'm not going to, put anything as gospel as to this is how everything is going to be going forward. But looking at it, I think they're going to fluctuate. Kenny Clark played 56 snaps. Rashawn Gary played 49. TJ Slayton played 40. Devontae Wyatt played 36. Kingsley Enagbare played 30. Carl Brooks played 20. Lucas Van Ness played 19. And Colby Wooden played 0. So I think those numbers are going to change and fluctuate based on the opponents. Cody says, I don't care what anyone says. That was intentional grounding. Yeah, it is what it is. Stuff happens. Okay. So going to the next part of this, Bryant is going to go through the linebackers and tackling.
Yeah, so I thought Quay Walker had a pretty solid game, played all 78 snaps. So a pretty good, solid game. I thought he made some plays, 7 solo tackles, a tackle for loss. There were a few plays he was spying Hurts, and I thought he did a really good job with the spying and helping shut that down. Even if he didn't make the tackle on that play, I think him being there and Hurts knowing that Quay was going to get to him probably helped shut that down quite a bit. So that's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but, him playing spy, that helped a lot. I thought Wilson flashed as well, getting a few tackles for loss. He had 2 tackles for losses. I just thought McDuffie was not good, and he kind of struggled in coverage. One thing that was kind of frustrating me, and we'll pull up some plays here in a few minutes, or right when I finish here, but just to show kind of Cooper's speed. But I was watching Edgerrin Cooper come on the field, make a really nice play on first down, then pull him off so McDuffie could play the coverage snaps. And that I just don't think was a recipe for success for us this game. I wanted to see Cooper on the field way more. He only played 11 snaps, and he made some serious eye-popping plays, which we'll pull up now. There's one I really want to show. Just his speed is amazing. So that's a really nice tackle there. He dives out of his feet. He could have, made a big play. But this play right here, he just shot out of an absolute cannon to tip that play. Like that's so fast that he does that. And then he recognizes if Jalen Hurts isn't throwing that bubble screen, he's probably getting home for a sack because he's going right around Lane Johnson there. And then for him to recognize that Jalen Hurts is throwing that ball and to get that hand up and make that play with that speed that's impressive. And look, he might make some rookie mistakes going forward, but just that athleticism, I want to see him on the field more.
I'll throw this out there just on the 11 snaps part of it. He was hurt for most of the preseason. So that's probably a factor on getting him up to speed, but I'll let you talk through this last one.
Yep. I agree. So I think that had a lot to do with it. So, and that's just, filling the hole right there. Yeah, he got the first down, but it was a 2-yard run. If that's first down instead of a play for a first down, if that's first down, he makes that play. We're now 1 second long. So, he's just reading the run plays well there. So
it's gap responsibility, and he executes it perfectly.
Yeah, he also had a hurry. So I do attributed a lot to him being out for a decent amount, but with what we've seen out of him from those 11 snaps, and really I think Eric Wilson played pretty well. I want to see some play. I want to see some lineups where it's Eric Wilson who has speed, Cooper and Quay Walker on the field, and then you have Xavier McKinney and Bullard back there who both show that they're pretty good at tackling as well. So I feel like that could be a pretty nasty backfield there. So yeah, for tackling, honestly, we had 9 missed tackles. Some of that's you have to attribute to that field. I don't know if we're gonna talk about it, but that field was awful. Going back to the Saquon Barkley play, even that touchdown. If you go, I don't know if any of you seen that, but if you go watch that replay, on the replays, and your Xavier McKinney's pretty close to breaking up already. What you don't see is he slips almost down to one knee trying to break towards that in the end zone, which I don't know if you've seen. I don't want to blame the field. I know we all had to play on it, but I'm saying
the Eagles had 9 missed tackles too. So yeah,
there could have been some plays made that probably didn't get made because of that field. So so that definitely contributed, because how many times did you see the Packers players just sliding, like trying to stop to make a tackle, and their feet just let go, and they were tearing that field up. So I hope that Brazilian team did not have a soccer match on it the next couple weeks.
All right, Jake, how did Packers do on 3rd and 4th downs?
All right, so 3rd and 4th down, that's me. That is my key. So 3rd and 4th down, the Packers held the Eagles to 4-14. So honestly, at the end of the day, that's pretty good. They picked up 2 third downs on 3rd and short situations, which I consider 1 to 3 yards. They picked up 1 third down 1 third down from third and medium, and 1 third down from third and long. I went through their play selection on third downs, and they had 6 pass plays called on third downs. And I thought something interesting about that was half of those, 3 of those, were in third and medium to third and short. So I was like, interesting. They were really mixing up the play calls and weren't just like handing the ball off to Saquon and just saying, "Hey, go save us." So I thought that was interesting. Other than that, I mean, I have no complaints about the third down defense. I thought it was good.
All right, Simon, what about the secondary?
Meow. Nailed it. That was part of our show.
Yeah.
No animals are hurt in the making of this video.
Jake's playing
Alex can be hurt.
secondary.
I really don't care.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like crapping on Jair, and I think there's some, a little bit of truth to it. He had a very up and down day. Obviously, the down was getting burned by AJ Brown, which I mean is going to happen. Dude's an all-pro receiver. I mean, they're just going to win those battles sometimes.
No.
You can't win them all.
Works. The Packers exert their will regardless of the opponent.
Oh yeah, my bad. What am I talking about? So, but like at the end of the day, he also had a pass breakup, and he had that very instinctual intercept. Like AJ Brown wasn't his guy on that play. He just fell back into the middle field in the coverage. Excuse me, I'm sorry about that. My bad. Fired, I know. AJ Brown started moving towards the middle of the end zone, and Jair just fell off and started going towards that area, and he got a pick. That's a turnover in the end zone. Like, you can't. I'll take that every single day of the week. Xavier McKinney, I think he looked every bit worth the contract so far that we gave him. He looked good. He bit Jalen Hurts into a pick, which was huge. And the other thing too, there was 2 drop interceptions in this game by the secondary. Jair and Nixon both had one. Nixon's was going to be a house call.
I might have won the game.
Yeah. And that was also in the red zone as well. I think Bullard struggled a little bit in coverage, to be expected. I mean, he's a rookie. He allowed 3 for 3 for 44 yards, and they had 32 yards of yak. I thought the secondary allowed a lot of yak this game, 137 yards. And then in the set, they missed 4 tackles out of the 9 by the secondary. I mean, that's also going to happen.
A lot of that yak probably came on that AJ Brown play too.
Yeah, that one was like 50 some yards of yak. So
there was one, and then there was another one like later in I think it was in the third quarter, where Jair and Bullard, I think, missed a tackle, and it was like a 6-yard catch, and ended up going for like 22 yards.
Yep. I think that was the Devontae Smith catch.
Yes.
Which is hard to stop him too. So
right. He's small. All right. So Jake's gonna go through the red zone defense.
Yeah. Tough. You guys aren't gonna like some stuff I'm gonna have to say. I'm gonna be honest with you. Because I didn't like reading it and I didn't like writing it down. Felt like my hand was on fire burning. So first opportunity they had in the red zone. They ran 2 plays in the red zone. They scored a touchdown. Both plays went to Barkley. Barkley had a -1 yard, and then the next one was the 18-yard touchdown pass. So then after that, so that's 1 touchdown. Count the touchdowns for Barkley, okay? That's 1. Next drive they had, Hurts hit Barkley. Hurts ran for 4 yards. Hurts ran for 2 yards, and then Barkley ran for a touchdown. So now you have 2 drives in red zone, 2 touchdowns for Barkley, 1 rush, 1 pass. Get to the third series. Hurts completes a pass to Gainwell. Hurts gets sacked, a false start. Hurts throws a pass to Goddard for 5 yards after he lost a bunch on a sack and a false start, and they settle for a field goal. So we got to stop in the red zone. We're 2 for 3 now. Get to the next one. Hurts hits Devontae Smith for 8 yards. Barkley for 5. Barkley for 9. Barkley for TD. You're now at 3 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns in the red zone. Now you get to the third series. First and 10 at 22. Burts hits Brown for 11. Hurts gets sacked. That was our first sack of the year. And then I'm sorry. That was not our first sack of the year. That was just a negative run. Good play by the defense. We get a 2nd and 13. That was the dropped interception by Nixon. That would have been a house call. And literally the next play is when Jair picks it off in the end zone, which I'm going to tell you, there's a couple things. One, normally when you drop an interception, there should be a pick six. Normally you get burned on that. The football gods are like, listen, we tried to give you one and you didn't take it, so suck it. Secondly,
we got burned by not winning the game a little bit there, but
they did. I mean, they had it. Let's be honest. They had a chance after the Jair interception. They had a chance in the first half when they didn't score in the red zone, which I'm going to talk about that too. But they got the interception, so good job by the defense getting another stop. Then the last one, Barkley. This is when they were the last drive of the game when they were trying to just run clock. Barkley ran for 2. Hurts hit Smith on a comeback route. And I agree with what Simon said during the live. He said the comeback routes were killing us because we were being a little bit over aggressive, in my opinion, in the DB area. Barkley ran for 2. Barkley ran for 3. There was a fumble on 3rd and goal, and then they just kicked the field goal. So I wrote down all the plays that they ran for Jalen Hurts. They ran 23 plays in the red zone. 12 of those plays were Jalen Hurts.
Jeez.
10 of those plays. Now that's so of those 12 plays, 7 of them were pass plays by Hurts. The other 5 plays are run plays for Jalen Hurts. 10 of those plays are Barkley. So 22 out of the 23 plays either had Jalen Hurts throwing, running, or handing it off to Barkley. And the one pass that Barkley caught. I mean, they were 3 for 6, and if you stop Barkley on one of those 3 that he scored a touchdown on, give yourself a chance to win the game.
All right.
You really can't count that last drive as one, in my opinion, because they were really just trying to run clock. But I don't
know. I still think they want to score a touchdown. I think we made the plays to
but the clock.
But you're right. Yeah, they weren't throwing as much.
Yeah, you really could call it a 3 for 5. But if you look at it that way, they got a turnover in the red zone, so that's a thing that they can build on.
That's true. Steve, welcome back. Barry, welcome back as well. What's up, gentlemen? It's been a while. It's officially Packer season, so glad to see you back.
Yeah.
Okay. So Bryant is going to cover special teams again this year as the bridge to offense when we get there.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, it's week 1. I'm kind of sick of talking about this group already after the last couple of years. So maybe I made a mistake choosing this, but just I want to break down something real quick. And I know that, maybe if this one thing happened, the other thing wouldn't have happened. But let me run you through something real quick. All right. So once again, we have a kicker that can't make 43, and then he missed a 43-yard field goal, right? He makes a field goal. If he has that field goal at that point in the game, it's a 2-point game now, right? Because we lost 34-29. If Nixon doesn't be selfish, and we'll talk about this more, I know. If he doesn't be selfish and take the ball out of the end zone and only get to the 16, we're starting at the 30-yard line. If Jordan Love then makes that throw to Reed, we're literally already at the Eagles' 37-yard line and within 54 yards of a field goal to win the game with 22 seconds left to play. Like, I know Matt LaFleur took blame for that, taking that out of the end zone, but that's bullshit. Nixon knows not to take that ball out, but he was doing it selfishly. He jumped in the back of the end zone to catch the ball, and then he runs out. And not only does he run out, he kind of hesitates. It's a selfish play by him because you've seen him earlier in the game get frustrated, kind of throwing his hands up on the air because he hasn't had a chance to return. They're not going to give you a chance, dude. That doesn't mean when they give you a chance, or they don't even they're trying not to give you a chance. You still take it out and get us to the 16-yard line. Not only furthermore, we would have had more than 22 seconds because he wasted 10 seconds taking the ball out of the damn end zone. I'm sorry, I don't get frustrated a lot, but I'm sick of Nixon. I'm honestly sick of him. Because he makes plays like this, he drops pick sixes. He's not making plays in big. He made a sack, yes, but that's because that sack is more on Jalen Hurts for not getting rid of the ball. He had all day to get rid of the ball.
I'll say Nixon did have another good play, similarly to week 1 last year against a wide receiver screen where he took 2 blockers from like 2 yards past the line of scrimmage back behind the line of scrimmage that allowed somebody else to make a play.
Fine, but it's not enough in the big moments.
I'm not saying that you're only saying
Yeah.
That Nixon is
And the
bad
part
at
I'm-
everything and that he doesn't do anything good. But
And the reason I'm more fired up on him is because we gave him this big contract that I think it was like $10 million a year or something. That's like one of the top paid slot cornerbacks in the freaking league. He didn't earn that. So
Ryan, you should wear a blood pressure cuff during this episode.
I
Just during the special teams segment.
But wait, he'll be like, oh, he has 24 return yards on the year. No, the hell he doesn't. He has -14 because that's what he cost us. Oh, and then
I agree with
Marvison
you.
had one really cool kick where he got it right inside the 20, but I'm leaning towards that might have been an accident because we didn't try it again the rest of the game. So I'm sick of special teams. He might have, but I'm sick of special teams. I don't know how we continue to do this crap every year with him. Also, if our plan was to kick the ball out of the end zone every time, why did we get rid of Anthony Johnson Jr. and keep Zane Anderson?
For punt coverage, I don't know.
I mean, Zane Anderson's not that bad, and he has playoff experience. He played with the Chiefs and won a Super Bowl with them. I mean, he's the only player on the team.
So did MVS. Do you want him back on the team?
We don't have a need at wide receiver, buddy.
Well,
We have a need at DB.
Yeah, but whatever. That I mean, sure, but Anthony Johnson.
I understand what
like,
you're saying.
He lays the lumber. I like Anthony Johnson Jr. I liked him as a prospect.
I get it.
But I'm just sick of this where we're paying Rich Bisaccia all this money and special teams continues to shoot us in the foot.
Except for punting. Daniel Whelan's a stud.
Daniel Whelan's good. I probably won't have to talk about him all year.
One silver lining.
Yeah.
Ryan,
You should talk about him.
We could be a Giants fan.
They put the special in special teams. I'm done with it.
That's a big yikes.
That's true, Ryan.
So are we gonna?
I was watching real quick. I was watching Ryan's show, and because he has a show about where they just kind of talk about everything, and he said on his show, he said, if the Giants lose to the Vikings, our year's over. They got just waxed. Poor guy.
It was 28-6. Have you guys seen the stat that Daniel Jones has thrown more touchdowns to other teams than his own since his contract?
Yeah, that's rough.
That's tough.
Steve, I think you got your karma that Roma Dunze has the same injury as Jordan Love because you were talking shit about it on Saturday. Just throwing that out there.
Season is 100% over.
Steve, the Bears are going to be 1-5. They expect to keep winning with that fucking offense. That was ugly.
Yikes.
Caleb Williams is the next great quarterback.
No, that was
7 yards of separation. He's trash. Watch that entire game, by the way. He's garbage.
Yeah, that's a dub. It's 1-0 in the score column.
If you expect to be 1-0 every week by getting a special teams touchdown and a defensive touchdown every week, bro.
Did you guys?
Come on, you're smarter than that,
Steve, did you see what the Titans head coach said?
about punting.
Oh God!
He said if he would have punted every time on first down the rest of the second half, they would have won that game.
Let's be real
Steve,
here.
come on. I know you know football better than to say this.
Steve had
All
CTE.
All right, moving on. Yep.
Moving on.
That is going to make me lose respect for your football opinion, to be honest with you. Holy shit.
So on to coaching. So the Packers had lots of penalties, and any sort of explanation that we offer up is going to be like, well, it's just an excuse, but it's still facts. The Packers are the youngest team in the NFL. That's just a fact. There was some of the illegal formation calls that were called in the Chiefs and Ravens game on Thursday night. There was a
throughout the
couple
whole
of those.
NFL, 33 of them this week.
Yeah.
Ooh, really?
Yeah.
Golly.
So there's that. There were two bad holding calls, in my opinion, one being on Jair Alexander, the other one being on Rasheed Walker. You can see in the replays, both of them, that neither of them have grabs. It's just open hands. And neither of those should have been called, in my opinion. I will say the Kenny Clark one, like I already mentioned with the D-line, that one was a correctly called holding penalty for not letting Saquon Barkley out of the backfield. That's a correctly called play, or correctly called penalty. So that's that. As far as anything else, Matt LaFleur, like I said, took responsibility for Keyshawn Nixon taking the ball out. And I think when Matt LaFleur says that that's on him for not communicating it, that I think Matt LaFleur is basically saying that I need to go to Keyshawn Nixon and grab him by the face mask and say, don't take the ball out. He shouldn't have to. I know what you're saying. Nixon is a professional football player. He should have the awareness to know that the time is more important than trying to get some heroic game-saving play. There was still 29 seconds left. If you don't take that ball out, you have 29 seconds to go 70 yards instead of having 22 seconds to go 84 yards.
Yeah, the one real thing interesting, the way he kind of said it, I wonder if they're gonna. I don't know that they'll do this, but he's like, that won't happen again. I'm wondering if maybe it was supposed to be communicated, it didn't happen, and maybe you'll see where they don't put him back for a return or two. I don't know that they would go that far, but I feel like he kind of did the same thing last year, and I don't think Matt LaFleur is too pleased with it. So, yeah. But yeah, you're right. But I don't feel like he should have to grab him by the face mask and say don't take it out. But
and then the last thing I'll say, I saw way too many people complaining that the Packers went for a 2-point conversion after they got the penalty that moved them a yard closer. When you get to a football game, what difference does being down by 4 or 5 make? It makes literally no difference because you still need a touchdown whether you're down by 4 or 5. It literally does not matter. The Packers were down by 5 or 6. Like it literally doesn't matter. They still needed a touchdown in any scenario to win the game. Okay, so moving into the offense, Ryan said, for what it's worth, I feel like the only Packers receiver I like while Love is our Reed.
I think he meant while Love is out.
While Love is out. Okay.
I agree with this. I mean,
Jaden Reed.
If you're talking fantasy-wise, I agree with this.
He's not Debo, dude. Debo has huge legs. He is literally migraine-free Percy Harvin.
Yeah.
He's literally Percy Harvin.
In his Ryan's defense, he said lighter Debo. Debo
Dude,
light.
Why don't you just call him Percy Harvin? That's what Percy Harvin was.
True.
I
don't know. Percy Harvin, I feel like he struggled catching the ball a little bit from time to time.
No.
Now he said it in all caps.
I don't agree.
Later Debo.
Yeah. So moving into the offense, Simon is going to go through tight ends.
Yeah, I think when we previewed the week, I was like, I don't know how they're gonna split the snaps between tight ends, and it was extremely one-sided. Tucker Kraft out-snapped Luke Musgrave 64-17. That is absolutely crazy. And then Sims had one offensive snap. But Tucker Kraft graded out pretty well in both run. Oh, my God.
Fair.
Harvin was a monster, dude. I'm not going to get mad about that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Kraft graded out. No, you guys are good. Kraft graded out pretty well in both run and pass blocking by PFF, had a 70.3 and 66.5 respectively. And then Musgrave graded pretty well in pass blocking with a 68.2, but struggled a little bit in run blocking, 42.3. They each only had 2 targets. Kraft brought in both of his for 37 yards, but I feel like if I remember right, both of Musgrave's targets were like in double coverage, or one was intercepted and the other was thrown into double coverage.
And Jake mentioned something on the second one, and Jake, to your credit, Kurt Benkert also mentioned it later on as well, that Musgrave could help with getting in front of the safety on that one that ended up being intercepted. Is that Love kind of anticipated that Musgrave would recognize where the safety was coming from and cut in front of him, and that's right where the ball went. So that's just kind of something where, honestly, Love and Musgrave, they haven't played that many games together yet.
Yeah.
So that's something that as they continue to grow, that's another thing you can. I'm not saying to blame it. To blame it on the youth, but yeah.
You gotta be able to block. That's what it comes down to. Is Kraft can block, and you have to block in Matt LaFleur's system. And Musgrave hasn't picked it up like Kraft, so you're going to see Musgrave on the field when they're looking for explosive big plays. But on your normal down and distance, you're going to see Kraft because he can block and he can catch.
I'm curious. The one thing I didn't look at was how many 2 tight end sets they ran. It couldn't have been that many.
Well, they have ran. How many plays did they run?
58.
No, it had to be 67. At least 67.
No way.
Yeah, so the fact that's basically saying Kraft is only off. So if you do quick math, it's like 11 2 tight end sets or whatever.
Yeah. So if Kraft played 64, there's at least 14 plays where they're both on there.
So I don't know. I guess we'll see going forward to see how it develops the rest of the season. I just thought it was super interesting that we saw that much more of Tucker Kraft.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be pretty close to 50-50 going into the game.
Wait, how many plays did he play?
Who, Kraft? Yeah. Kraft played 64.
64?
64 out of
technically.
Dude, I'm telling you, ESPN has the Packers at 58 total plays. I saw their EPA. Their EPA.
Kraft could have played special team snaps, is what it is.
Yeah, that was what I was going to look at next because it said total snaps.
PFF says.
No, it says 67.
Offensive snaps.
Yeah, ESPN has them at 58 and the Eagles at 74. I remember looking up the EPA because the Packers crushed the Eagles in
PFF has the Eagles at 76.
Oh. Well, we all know what their grades are like too.
Yeah.
So
and the point is that Kraft's way out snap Musgrave. So.
Yeah.
I just Ryan said, let's talk about the positive. Christian Watson got through the game without a hamstring injury, and so did Eric Stokes. The Packers they sent Eric Stokes and Christian Watson to UW-Madison over the summer to have like a large examination done on preventing hamstring injuries. And the Packers also completely overhauled their strength and conditioning staff. So, and we didn't hear a single thing about either one of them throughout camp that either of them are having any sort of lingering hamstring issues. So, gotta knock on wood that continues. But so far, so good. Haven't heard anything about it since last season. So,
yeah, and sticking on Watson real quick because we're going into wide receiver. He actually led the league in wide receiver targets in the red zone. He had 3 of them. So, so the one thing in the red zone, the one play he didn't catch the ball or whatever. If we want to talk about how terrible that penalty was on Dobbs because you can hit the person within the line, 1 yard of the scrimmage. We can talk about that, but he had that target and then he got a touchdown. He had another target, but so that's good to see Watson. He made a really nice play. Catching that ball, that was a quick slant, good catch right there by him in the red zone for that touchdown. Other than that, we struggled with some drops for sure, especially Wicks. I know he slipped on a couple of them, but if you're going to get your hands on him, you want to catch up. Dobbs had the drop, kind of it been a weird kind of over the shoulder catch or whatever, or a little behind him. But you see Dobbs make that catch a lot. You've seen Reed drop one, but overall, Reed showed some really great things with his long touchdown catch. Like what I said before, I thought the catch at the end of the game and the touchdown run were even more impressive because the catch at the end of the game, you just have to have so much concentration and everything. And to get his toes down, that was insane. And then the vision that he had on that end round was also really good. I thought Dobbs had finally like 5 catches for 50 yards or whatever. That's pretty consistent with what he does a lot of the time. I want to give a shout out to Bo Melton. He didn't catch the ball, but he recovered a fumble. He only had like 8 snaps. That was one of his snaps, right? His hustle to get that ball when Josh Jacobs punched it out, kept us in that game because I think we go down and scored on that drive. So that was a big thing there. So really, they're gonna have to step up. They were able to for Malik Willis. They're gonna have to step up. They're gonna have to catch those balls that we can't afford. With Malik Willis, I know we'll get into a little bit later. The big opportunities aren't going to come very often. When they come, you need to make them. That you can't be dropping balls or anything like that. So I expect them to, really work hard, try to get open on their routes. So they're doing that all the time anyway, but maybe put a little more effort in if they're not, if for whatever reason they're not. Not saying they aren't, but and then really look to get some yak and stuff. Maybe get those extra tough yards, or maybe try to break an extra tackle where they might not. So we're going to need them to step up.
So Wes brought up the missed wide open. That's in the red zone, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, that was just one that was just a little bit too far out of the reach of Christian Watson. If I'm not mistaken, actually, I know I'm not mistaken. I will come back to that play because I do have a note on that particular red zone trip. So for me, going into the passing game distribution, there were 8 players targeted in this game. So the trend of 7 or more players targeted continues. Reed and Dobbs had 6 each. Christian Watson had 5. Running backs had 3 each, and the tight ends had 2 each. Jordan Love to Jaden Reed was 3 for 3 on 20-plus yard downfield throws.
Nice.
So that is very encouraging. including a nice contested catch on the sideline on the last drive, which is the one that Bryant brought up, which I strongly agree. Like I said, that being a very, very important play and arguably a better play than his touchdown reception. And I agree with Bryant on that. When I was bringing up earlier in the offseason that Jaden Reed was a good contested catch player in the offseason or in his college during our offseason shows, somebody commented on YouTube and they're like, Jaden Reed, contested catch, LOL. And I'm like, there it is. He was good at it in college. Just because he wasn't good at his rookie year in the NFL doesn't mean he's no longer good at it. So good to see Jaden Reed get a contested catch because I believed he was capable of it. So other than that, Jordan Love to Christian Watson was 3 for 3 on 0 to 10 yard targets. So it was interesting to see almost like a role reversal there where we were assuming that Christian Watson was going to be the downfield guy and Jaden Reed was going to be kind of a possession guy. This game, Jaden Reed was the downfield guy and Christian Watson was the possession guy. So I thought that was interesting. And then Romeo Doubs was basically used all over from the line of scrimmage to 20 yards downfield, basically everywhere in the middle. So that's kind of how that distribution broke down. But going to the offensive line, back to Bryant.
Yeah, so for the offensive line, I thought Zach Tom and Elton Jenkins looks very solid as usual. I thought Josh Myers did not look good. Seemed to struggle all night. I know they have a very good defensive front, but he struggled for sure. Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan split snaps. Kind of expected this to happen but Ryan got 42 to Morgan's 28. However, I think this week you're going to see that become more of a 50-50 split because I thought Morgan outplayed Ryan. Morgan did have the one play where he got really pushed back in Jordan Love. Other than that, I thought he played pretty well. I thought Walker played really sloppy. He had 3 flags thrown on him, 2 that were accepted, the 2 holding calls he gave, and then he allowed a sack as well. He was good to okay in pass blocking, which is kind of his forte anyway, but not good in run blocking. And then I think for him, like I said, I think that for this, he's typically better in pass blocking anyway, but I think this was more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think this is going to be his typical performance. I think he struggled on that field a little bit. I think he's going to be fine. I think he just had a rough first week against a very good defensive line. And really the last few years, the Packers have been much better in pass block than run block. Like last year, they're in pass block win rate. They were number 2 in the league, and run pass win rate, they were number 16. So mid pack there. So they've always been better at pass block win rate anyway. If it's hard to grade the offensive line for us, that's not spending much time going watch every play and all that stuff. So I do kind of like to use the PFF grades for offensive line. So Zach Tom had a grade of 92. That's insane. Like that's really good. Just for reference, in case anyone doesn't know, 60 is average. So Tom was a 92. Jenkins was 78.4. Morgan was 67.7. Walker was 60.9, which actually surprised me that they put him at average with how rough he kind of had of a game.
I thought he just had a slow start.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that might just tell you he had some rough plays versus actually a rough game. But when you see him in play and stuff, I think it was just a span of 5-6 plays that was probably rough for him.
I mentioned one of those holding penalties too. I don't think should have been a holding penalty.
I don't want to get into the refs. I thought there was a couple of really bad calls, but Sean Ryan had a 59.8, so just barely below average, and then Myers was 50.1. So I don't know if Myers doesn't start to play better. They might have to start thinking about putting Jenkins at center, having Ryan at left guard, and Morgan at right guard, or something, because Myers just struggles so often. I know he was cramping and stuff, but it just seems like he struggles, and we're 4 years in now. We can't have that immediate pressure up the middle. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I thought Morgan for his first game, I thought he played well. Zach Tom solid as always. Jenkins solid as always. So overall, I thought it was fine. I thought it took us a little bit to get started. I do expect that whole group as a whole to play much better this week.
Yeah. So moving into the running game, Simon's going to talk about that.
Yeah, we hit kind of a lot of it just here and there, but like we said, this is a game that we just started out really slow, and it was like easy missed blocks in the backfield. They hit Josh Jacobs the first six carries. I can't talk. Only amounted to 4 yards. And then, like I said, Emmanuel Wilson came in and took 3 straight carries for 37 yards. And they really started heating up. And they both finished for a total of 20 carries for 130 yards. And Jacobs had 84 of those on 16 carries, which we'll take every single day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought Josh Jacobs did really well in pass pro too. I don't know if that's like necessarily part of run game, but out of the running backs, like he held up, I think, pretty well.
Yeah, you can definitely for future reference bring up the pass protection of the running backs in the running game. I think.
Yeah, I thought Josh Jacobs did well with it. I know one of the things coming in was he needed to work on it. He's probably got coached on it, and so I thought he graded out well or looked good in that.
Oh, and those jet motions with Reed and probably Watson are going to be huge for our run game. Both ways, opening it up inside zones with the running backs and also drawing their guys to look inside and then allowing that jet motion to get outside.
Yeah. To your point, Josh Jacobs had the 3rd highest pass blocking grade on the team.
Big dubs.
Good job. Okay, so going to the 3rd and 4th down offense, back to Jake.
Yeah, this is going to be short and sweet. The Packers were literally just hurting themselves on 3rd downs, and they were hurting themselves in the red zone. I'm not going to say that the Packers beat themselves because the Eagles are a very good team, and they definitely earned some things and made some big-time plays in this game. But I would be lying to myself. I'd be lying to all you. I'd be lying to all my friends on this panel right now if I didn't think that the Packers were the better team on Friday night, and they had every opportunity to win that game. And going 3 for 11 on 3rd down is just literally not going to cut it. I don't care who you're playing. Could be against the Colts this week, which Tyler and I will be in attendance, not together, oddly enough, but we will both be at Lambeau. If you go 3 for 11 versus the Colts, you're not giving yourself a good chance to win that game. I don't care who's at quarterback either. 3 for 11 is not going to cut it against anybody, any week, any stadium, any turf, any grass. It doesn't matter. 3 for 11 is not going to cut it. So all I wrote down is 3 for 11 is a bunch of bullshit. So let's clean it up. That's literally what I wrote on my paper.
That's understandable. So going into the last offensive segment we have here, the red zone, the Packers had 4 trips. They scored 1 touchdown and 3 field goals. I am, before I get into the rest of this, going to give Philadelphia credit. They were tough in the red zone. So good on them. But looking at the first trip to the red zone, a penalty moved them from second and 10 at the 12-yard line to 2nd and 20 at the 22-yard line. So already that 10 to 20 range kind of coming back from last season, similarly and unfortunate. Then Dontavian Wicks had a drop on that 2nd and 20, and then they got a short 9-yard gain and had a 3rd and 11 or a 4th and 11 and got a field goal. The second trip was the offensive pass interference on Romeo Doubs. Now, that one Bryant brought up as thinking potentially it was within the 1 yard of the line of scrimmage. I think regardless of how close to the line of scrimmage you are, Romeo Doubs has to at least try to make it look like he's trying to run a route. He ran up to the DB like this, and that kind of sells it that you're not trying to run a legal pick play and that you're just literally going to just look to knock a DB off of a route. So I just think that, and I get that it's hard to expect somebody to like pretend like they're trying to run into somebody on purpose, but I mean, you have to just
Eagles
try
did against us. The Eagles ran a play against us that was a legal pick play, and they literally ran it to perfection.
But it was they did it well. Like the receiver acted well enough to where it didn't look.
But
like
if the rule says within a yard of the line of scrimmage, why should he have to act when it was clearly within the yard of the line of scrimmage? That's my point.
Because you have to make it look like you're running a route.
I'm not just too much.
Setting a pick.
Drop the ball anyways.
Yeah, but the penalty pushed you back is what
it did.
Yeah.
Kurt asked, why did Love throw off his back foot so much? Because he can do so accurately.
Have you ever seen Aaron Rodgers?
If he's good at it, I'm not going to argue with what platform he throws off of. We saw last year, sometimes he throws off of no feet.
I mean, the interception was bad, but if you watch that route, Musgrave needs to round that route a lot more too.
Yeah, and that's potentially a learning opportunity for him too.
Okay, I'm gonna say something that I heard this week. I agree with it. He does throw off his back foot a lot. and he's allowed to do that because he has the arm talent to do it. In the playing situation that we were in Brazil, where it was not normal playing surfaces, he should not have been throwing off his back foot. He should have been stepping into the pocket and following through, through his hips and all that stuff that you're taught, and throwing it accurately. He had a couple throws that he got saved.
Can I
He had a drop from Wicks where everybody was on top of Wicks, where it was not accurate. He had a wide open Romeo Dobbs the next play where he threw it way behind him. He had a play to Dobbs later in the second half where Dobbs saved him and actually caught the ball. We can be critical of Jordan Love too. He needed to not throw off his back foot so much.
He didn't play his best for sure.
Can I play the devil's advocate on that point?
Yeah, go ahead.
There was a play, and I don't know if it was earlier in the game. I don't remember exactly what point it happened, where he was trying to step up and his front foot slipped out and he almost did the splits.
Oh,
there
yeah,
was a play like that. So maybe this is just me personally thinking this. I don't know this. I'm purely speculating on this. That Love could have been throwing off his back foot because as soon as he felt that he was like stuck in the ground and had some, solid thing to throw off of, that maybe that's why he's just on one foot, because he feels that he's planted there and he can keep his weight there without slipping.
That's a fair
advocate.
For like 2 seconds on the field, I get the NFL wants to grow the game. I get that they want to play in front of these people, but you cannot play on I think it was 10 or 11. Someone did the count, 10 or 11 dropbacks and this was just Jordan Love. It wasn't, it happened to Jalen Hurts too. On his dropbacks, when he gets to his final plant, his back leg slips out from underneath him. You're asking for the injury. You have all this money, build a damn good field in one of those locations. Say, hey, give us one of your stadiums that you're not going to use much. We want to come here yearly and play a game in it. We'll put the ground or the turf we need to put into it. You can play on it, but this is going to be the turf on it. Do something. This can't be acceptable. That was awful.
I did see somebody bring that up, that was set up for like soccer cleats who
they played a soccer field. They played a soccer game
and not cutting
5 days earlier. They played a soccer game on it several days earlier.
Yeah. So back to the red zone, that pass interference moved them from the 3 to the 13. There was a pass to Tucker Kraft for 8 yards, and then second goal at the 5. There was pressure, forced a throwaway, and then 3rd and 5. Love just missed Christian Watson in the back of the end zone. Yep. That's a miss. Just a little bit out of Christian Watson's reach. Now, I will say when we get to the 3rd trip to the red zone, that's where the touchdown happens to Christian Watson. Then the 4th trip to the red zone, they have second one at the 15-yard line. They get to 1st and 10 at the 13-yard line. They have a 5-yard Josh Jacobs run, and then 2 incompletions, and Jordan Love was pressured on both. So then they settle for another field goal. So that's where I give credit to Philadelphia for their defense. So moving into Jordan Love, Simon, I'll go to you first. What did you think of Jordan Love in his game as a whole?
I thought he played okay. I think he got away with a couple things. There was a drop pick six, that would have been a pick 6 for sure. I think we talked a lot about the slipping and sliding around the field hurt his footwork a little bit, causing him to not be as accurate as he could have been with some of the balls behind his players. I mean, that's kind of there was 3 drop passes too by PFF. And then, we talked about the Musgrave. We talked about a lot of the stuff that I had written in my notes already, so I'm not going to hammer it home too much. I thought it was an okay game by Love. Could have been better, could have been worse. It sucks that we're not going to see him for at least this next week for sure, in my opinion.
For sure.
Speculation, of course.
So, Bryant, what did you think as a whole?
Yeah, going in, and I think we all talked about it. I think that was a secondary that you had a chance to tear up if you're basing off what they did last year. They played pretty well. I do think the field conditions definitely had a little bit to do with it, but I wouldn't blame all of that. I thought Jordan played fine. Even if you give him the 3 drops as completions, though, he still is only about 60%, which is pretty bottom of the league at this point for completion percentage. He definitely missed some plays. I don't know how much of it was going on. I know his calves pretty much started cramping or whatever they were doing, possibly because he was slipping aside so much early in the second half. I think that started to happen. I was surprised he didn't use his legs at all. He didn't run the ball a single time. That could have also been from the calf issues. So But typically you'll see him make a play or two a game that he kind of gets out and, extends a drive or something, making one of those runs. You know, other than that, I think he played all right. I think he'll get better throughout the year. That's a tough team. That's a team that should be in the playoffs at the end of the year. If we can weather the storm of Jordan Love, I think we should be there. There's several other teams that we think will be in the playoffs. There's, the Ravens, Rams also we think will be in the playoffs, also lost a game this weekend too. So I think it's not all doom and gloom. I think the reason I don't think we would all feel like a little like if Jordan didn't get hurt. I think we'd all be feeling pretty fine. Where you run into like, okay, this is a little troublesome because if he misses 2, 3, 4 games and we can't go 500 during those games and at least put us in a position where it's like, okay, Jordan, go 8-4 and we can make the playoffs or something like that. So I think, hopefully we can rally around Willis but getting back on Love, I think he played okay. It definitely was not his best game. The interception, Musgrave definitely needs to round his route there more, but that ball shouldn't have been thrown there either. That you don't throw in between 3 defenders, no matter how, if you think you can get in there. Yeah, if he catches it, everyone's like, oh my God, what an amazing throw. But you're putting it in so much risk right there. And if I remember right,
your own end zone.
Yeah, and I remember right, I think he had Christian Watson on like a check down that he could easily hit and just lived for the next play.
Jake, what did you think about Jordan Love?
So I thought he was I don't want to say he was okay because everybody's saying that. I thought he was a little bit above average. But at the end of the day, the bottom line is they scored 29 points versus the Eagles on a shit field. That's literally what I took away from that is we almost scored 30, like literally as close as you can get to 30, 29, and on a shit field. Now I understand that both teams are playing on it, but Jordan Love was clearly hobbled. I'm glad that you brought that up, Brian, because that was one of the things I wanted to take away. We were on a shit field. He was clearly hobbled, and we still almost put up 30. Those are the things that I took away from that. He didn't play his best game accuracy-wise. I already talked earlier about some of the throws that he missed. Missed one to Wicks, missed one to Doubs. Tyler brought up he missed an end zone shot to Watson early in that game. So, I mean, there's plays there that the Packers left in Brazil, and hopefully they watch the film, they get back to it, and they learn from it, and hopefully Jordan Love heals up pretty quickly here.
Yeah, and I guess real quick, with us talking about the throws he missed, that throw to Jaden Reed at the end of the game is a ridiculous throw. If you watch it, he's moving left and the way he throws that ball, that's a ridiculous throw. And then the touchdown Jaden Reed, he does a really good job running up in the pocket, using his mobility there, lays it out for Jaden Reed perfect. So
yeah, the one towards the end of the game, it's just like, okay, yep, seen that before by a guy that used to wear number 12. So that's cool to see number 10 doing that. So I wanted to go to all three of you guys first because I wrote some things down that I think are one indicative partially of the cause of some of his play, which is part of it is being 3 throwaways. Jordan Love faced 12 pressures on 36 dropbacks. That's essentially 33.3% of the time that he dropped back, he was under pressure. That's a high number. That's a really high number to be facing pressure. Is basically 1 out of every 3 times you drop back to pass. So looking at it, the next thing, Jordan Love was 3 for 5 on passes of 20-plus yards. That is absolutely progress.
Yeah.
Also, 129 out of his 260 yards, essentially half of his yards, came on those 20-plus downfield targets. So that's definitely progress from Jordan Love. If you wanted to know what you wanted to see him improve on, one of the things being his deep ball, there's absolutely signs of this game of him improving that. Then also looking at the middle of the field, from 0 to 10 yards in the middle of the field, he was 7 for 8. And then from 10 to 20, he was 0 for 4. So I think that's where the opportunity lies for Jordan Love to improve. Now, one of those drops, I believe it was the Romeo Doubs drop, was in the middle of the field from that 10 to 20 range, but I do think there is some opportunity there for the intermediate of Jordan Love to improve. Okay, so as we move into the Colts game, Simon, I will go back to you first. What are you looking to see from Malik Willis as we move into this Colts preview?
Hard to say. I don't have an answer for you because we haven't seen him play. Obviously signed with the team about 10 days ago or so, maybe a little longer now, but around that area. I mean, he's got the legs. He's got good arm power. His accuracy is questionable at best. I'm hoping that they start off giving him some easy throws, rely on Josh Jacobs a little bit. The run game, because of Emmanuel Wilson's also going to get some carries. Maybe we'll see Lloyd this week. But I'm hoping that we, like kind of Ryan alluded to in the comments earlier, like give Reed some touches and just let him go and see what happens. I'm really skeptical of him because he doesn't know the offense yet, being young. So it's probably going to be a small batch of plays that he's really caught up to. They're not going to open the playbook, I don't think, all the way. I'd be very surprised if we saw a lot of the weird stuff. But really using his athleticism and his arm strength to get us down the field.
Ethan, we probably got a good while before the NFL is going to Iraq.
Let's go to North Korea too. Let's do it.
Yeah,
might as
right
well.
on that.
Maybe we can get Dennis Rodman to hook us up with that.
Hell yeah.
NFL
He-
Moscow. Here we go.
He does the coin toss for that game.
Okay. So, Bryant, what are you looking for from Malik Willis?
Yeah, I think Simon hit on a lot of the things we're going to be looking for. I do expect him to let him use his legs quite a bit, run some RPOs. Luckily, we're going into a game against a team that just let mix and run all over them. So I expect Josh Jacobs to have a big game. I just went and looked up Malik Willis' stats real quick in the preseason because I know he had a couple decent games with this preseason. So against the Saints, he went like 5 for 6 for 2 touchdowns. He did take 2 sacks for like 50-something yards. And then when he got more extended playing time against Seattle, I get it, second team and stuff. He was 12 for 16, 116 yards. He did throw 1 pick, took another 2 sacks. So one of the things he does is take some sacks. We need him to get away from that. But I think you're going to have to scheme up a lot of end arounds. I think you're going to have to scheme up a bunch of screen plays. I'm sorry, I was having trouble putting those 2 words together. Some bubble screens, things like that. Some easy passes for him, maybe some quick, slants or something. The concern there is he does tend to overthrow. So if you throw a quick slant into the middle of the field, it might hit the linebacker in the chest. So he's going to have to be careful with that. But I think we're really just going to, have to scheme some stuff up and get him into the rhythm of the game quickly. I think let him do what he does well. If he runs a few RPOs to start the game and then, complete a few passes. And then I do think we'll have to take a couple shots downfield just to kind of make them, a little more honest. So I do want them to take a couple shots down the field with that speed and just see if they can, Titans will play a lot of single high safety. The Colts, excuse me. Why am I talking Titans? Probably because Malik Willis played for them. The Colts will play a lot of things.
And so we play in week 3.
Yeah, single high safety. They did lose one of their top cornerbacks to IR. So they're going to play a lot of top, single high safety. So I do think they're going to try to stop the run. If we can have success on it like Houston did and then take some shots down the field and just get Malik Willis to complete those easier throws, I think we have a chance.
Absolutely. Let's start out with the Statue of Liberty play.
I'm down.
He said he hopes we can run against the stack box, and Wes said need Jacobs to open up some long balls. Start out with the Statue of Liberty. I see what you did there.
Nicely done.
Well done.
Jake, what are you looking for from Malik Willis?
Yeah, so I'm going before Brian next week because the first thing that I wrote down about Malik Willis is lots of RPOs. He's clearly an athletic freak. They signed Josh Jacobs to a big, gigantic contract, so he's about to run for a lot of this next couple of weeks. And I agree. Got to throw it deep. Got to keep him honest. We're going to see a lot of stack boxes, a lot of man coverage, single high. I agree with that. So you got to throw it deep. That's where a guy like Watson, he's an alien, right? And I'm going to talk about an alien that plays for Indianapolis. He just wears number 5. Our alien wears number 9. He's tall. He's fast. He jumps really high. He catches balls on top of 2-3 people sometimes. He's a crazy guy. So we're going to have to throw the ball to him, let him cook. And hopefully Josh Jacobs is in prime form. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm a little worried about Josh Myers in this game because he didn't look good with Aaron Rodgers at points. He didn't look good with Jordan Love at some points. Now he's going to have Malik Willis back there. That's the guy I'm really kind of watching this week is Josh Myers.
So listening to Matt LaFleur talking yesterday, they're going to start Malik Willis. They're not contacting other QBs. They're not putting Jordan Love on IR, which is interesting. And they haven't ruled him out for the Colts game. Now, there's like a probably less than 1% chance that he plays, but just the fact that they didn't, say that Jordan Love's going to be, not playing this week. And Bryant brought this up in our group chat that it's probably some gamesmanship on his part, but just the fact that there's a possibility that he could play against the Titans, even though the four of us don't think so, we think it's much more possible that he plays against the Vikings in week 4. But just the fact that he's potentially going to be back sooner than later, when originally it was, this injury can be 1 to 12 weeks, then it was 6 to 8, then it was 4 to 6, and then it's 3 to 5, and now it's, he could be back sooner than later, and they're not going to put him on IR. So Afam said Malik Willis' pocket presence scares me. Looking at Malik Willis, it's interesting to see, looking back at him playing at Liberty. I did like him coming out of college. So I did like the move that the Packers made to bring him in as a backup, just to see if Tom Clements can work some more magic. And I said this to you guys. I'm like, if Malik Willis plays great this week, like I will drive up to Green Bay and I will start working on the statue myself. So looking at Malik Willis, he is slippery versus pressure. He has a cannon of an arm. He's insanely athletic. He makes good changes of direction. And to Jake and Bryant's point, he has shown some RPO ability. So I'm down to put him in some RPO situations. We know he's got great legs, so you can have him use that to his advantage. So we'll talk a little bit more about the offense as a whole as we get into some of the preview stuff here. So I'm going to go to Simon again first. Simon, looking for the defense. What are you looking for against the Colts?
Yeah, so Anthony Richardson had really 2 long plays to Ashton Doolin and Alec Pierce last week that really set their offense up. Obviously, he can run really well. So I'm looking for about the same sort of thing from our edge guys, keeping that contained, keeping them in the pocket, maybe force a few pressures and some throwaways or bad decision making from him. I think I saw something the other day that he's only started like 18 games since high school or something crazy like that, which is absolutely absurd for a guy in his second year in the NFL. Obviously, he was hurt most of his rookie season, but still, that's just absolutely crazy. So hopefully we get garnish enough pressure, force him to make some bad decisions or throwaways. And then really, I'm looking to Xavier McKinney to be that a single high safety, keep the deep balls at bay.
Avon said, yeah, we should go heavy RPO. However, you need an explosive running back to really excel. Josh Jacobs can be effective in the run and the pass games. So I believe that Josh Jacobs is perfectly capable of helping.
Also, Manuel Wilson is explosive, and Marshawn Lloyd is explosive. So I don't think that'll be an issue. Also, Jaden Reed might be seeing the backfield this game. So
touche. Bryant, what are you looking for from the Packers defense against the Colts?
Yeah, so talking kind of a little bit what I talk about each time is the linebackers. So for their defense, they need to do what they did against Jalen Hurts and Saquon. I thought, Saquon scored 3 touchdowns. He kind of really got going in the second half. But for that first half, they did a really good job against they did a good job against Hurts the whole game and pretty good against Saquon. He wasn't killing. Neither of them were killing us until kind of a little bit later in the game. But can they replicate that success they had on Friday? Is that kind of like I said before? I want to see Cooper on the field more. I think his speed will help us a lot here. His explosiveness flashed. If he's going to make a couple rookie mistakes, I understand that. But I want that playmaking ability. So hopefully the linebackers step up, slow down Jonathan Taylor, make Anthony Richardson make some throws. Although Anthony Richardson made some ridiculous throws, he was like 50% completion, and he put some balls in harm's way. And I think that if we come down with those, or we take our opportunity to do that, great.
Just on your subject of Edgerrin Cooper, listening again to Matt LaFleur talking last night or yesterday afternoon, he talked about Edgerrin Cooper, and I loved the way that he phrased what he was saying about him, that he's not perfect but promising.
Yeah.
So I just love that phrasing from Matt LaFleur on the subject of Gary Cooper. That's a baseball player. He said Cooper looked legit. Hate saying it after one game, but he looked like he belonged out there. I mean, if that's all you can ask for from a guy playing his first NFL game, if he looks like he belongs out there.
Yeah. So a quick snap count. I think Isaiah McDuffie had 74 snaps, so he was only 2 lower than Quay, and then Cooper had 11 and Eric Wilson had 15. I think McDuffie's snaps need to come down a little bit from there. Maybe not, he could be, I know he's supposed to be the run stuffer or whatever, but if that comes down to like 50 and we just see Cooper and Eric Wilson a little bit more, that's something I would like to see, I guess, this game.
I'm almost positive that Cooper will play more and McDuffie will play less. So we'll get to that. Jake, what are you looking for from the Packers defense against the Colts?
Yeah, so there's a few things. The Colts went 2 of 3 in the red zone. I went with my keys as well that I really look for week after week here. The red zone defense, the Colts went 2 for 3 versus the Texans. They should really aim for something like a 1 for 3 or a 1 for 4. If you can bend, not break, that obviously goes a long way over course of a 60-minute NFL game. Pass rush, the Texans versus Colts. The Texans had 5 pressures, 2 sacks, and Richardson ran 6 times for 56 yards and a touchdown. He had a 19-yard run, so pretty explosive play there. I'm looking for the Packers to have somewhere around 10 hurries. They had 15 versus the Eagles. 2 sacks is a good number for them again. And hold Richardson to 8 for 40. If you hold him to 5 yards of rush, I'm actually okay with that. Because that means that he maybe had 1 long rush and he got held in check after that. To Brian's point, kind of like what they did with Jalen Hurts. Third down, Colts went 5 for 10 on third down versus the Texans and 1 for 2 on fourth down. I'm looking for that number to go way down, go 3 for 10. Hopefully the defense is amped up. Hopefully the crowd is loud. I know I'll be screaming. There's going to be a lot of tailgating going on Sunday. A lot of drunk individuals in Green Bay, Wisconsin, at about 11.
And in Fairbanks, Alaska.
And Anchorage, Alaska.
Simon's got a one-man tailgate going out there. You said
Fairbanks.
You have a bar up there, though.
So
yeah, I will think about it. We'll see what happens if I go to it or not.
You should go.
Yeah, I'll check it out. Maybe this weekend. We'll see.
Snaps might decrease like his hairline.
Tough.
Oh wow.
For me, still looking at the defensive line, I'm still going to be watching the snap counts like I was in week 1. There's not a singular chance that I believe that the 1 week sample size versus a loaded offense is going to be indicative of the way that halfway lines up the defense for the next 16 games. I also strongly believe that there will be adjustments and adaptations to the opponent. That said, Anthony Richardson did run 6 times for 56 yards, so the containment that they played versus Hurts will be necessary versus Richardson as well. So moving into the special teams, Brian, what are you watching for on special teams?
Just make your damn kicks. I mean, dude, we can't afford to leave board points on the until Jordan Love gets back. We can't do it. You can't afford to do it with Jordan Love anyway. But until Jordan Love gets back, you certainly cannot afford to leave points on the board. If it's 45 and in, you need to be making it. That's a rule in the NFL at this point. You know how disheartening it was watching? I sat there on the 12 o'clock games, and I just watched 50-yarder after 50-yarder. NFL record this weekend. 22 50-plus yard field goals are made.
Can I just throw something out there? Because I'm salty about it. This is the first time I have ever had Justin Tucker in fantasy football, and he misses the first kick of the season. I'm like, are you shitting me? I never have Justin Tucker. I get him once, and he misses his first field goal.
And I was watching. I think I was watching the Saints game or maybe this Pittsburgh. Oh. The dude's first one of the kickers I was watching. His first 3 kicks. No, it's Kyan Fairburn. 50, 51, 50. His first 3 kicks were 350-yarders. And I literally sat there and thought, I don't think the Packers will make 3 50-yard field goals the entire season. And this guy just did it in his first 3 kicks of the season. So
Fairburn's a stud, to be fair.
Yeah, he's a stud, but we just need to make our kicks, and then
God,
we need
I've
to.
seen what you have done for others, and I want that for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go kidnap him or something. I don't know. But so that, and then I didn't watch enough of the Houston Indy game to see if Indy was allowing kickoff returns. I could look it up real quick, but either way, if it's in the end zone, just take it to the 30, man. Like, unless it's like if it's a yard deep, fine, Nixon, take it out and give it a go. But if it's anything more than that, take it to the 30.
I mentioned I meant to mention this during the recap part of it. Maybe this is a Rich Bisaccia thing, but maybe put this in the back of the mind of Keyshawn Nixon. Like, teams are going to kick the ball through the end zone because they don't want you to return the ball against them.
Yeah, Houston has 0 returns.
Like you being Keyshawn Nixon, not just the NFL at large, but the opponents don't want you, Keyshawn Nixon, all-pro returner, to return the ball against them. That's a sign of respect for your skill, not something that should make you mad. Other teams are doing it because they don't want you to do things to them.
I know he wants to do it. I promise you, there's going to be games where the wind is going against him or against the kicker in Lambeau Field, where he's going to have an opportunity to return kicks later in the season, or maybe even this weekend. But wait for those opportunities. Don't force something.
Yep. I agree. Okay. So just strictly on the coaching aspect, my main focus as far as coaching is going to be having a game plan to put Malik Willis in positions to succeed. I'm not saying that Matt LaFleur needs to build his own game plan for Malik Willis just around him, but just to have a game plan where they do things where he knows that where he's supposed to go with the ball, where his reads are, and when to have him use his legs. His athleticism is absolutely an asset. So I would think just have a base offense for him. Like Simon said, that they're not going to, go to the back page of the playbook for the super tricky stuff, but then to just give him a couple extra things to take advantage of his athleticism. That's something that, Jordan Love is not an unathletic player, but Malik Willis has plus athleticism. So that's my main thing on coaching. But Simon, what are you looking for from the offense against the Colts defense?
I guess we're gonna run the ball. I don't think there's a way, unless this game gets completely out of hand, that they start throwing the ball like 30, 40 times with Malik Willis. I think it's going to be a Josh Jacobs, Emmanuel Wilson show.
Scott asked when you guys think Love will be back. I think we're all kind of leaning towards week 4 against Minnesota. I think that's what
the ideal is week 4-ish.
Yeah. If the news this week is that he is not going on IR, I really have to believe that he's coming back in 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. Well, he missed 3 weeks, which would put him week 5 against the Rams. But I'm hoping. I think honestly, it's going to be interesting too if Green Bay, these next 2 games should be winnable, right? But we are playing 2 good defenses. We're playing, and it becomes less winnable, obviously, when you don't have Jordan Love on the field. But if for whatever reason they, which I think is in the realm possibility, they beat the Colts this weekend and they go and beat a Tennessee our team that their defense looked really good, but their offense did not look good. If we pull that one out somehow and they're all of a sudden they're 2-1 or something like that, but Jordan Love's like 90%, they might not play him against the Vikings, but that is a conference division game, so you could see that happen.
Yep, that's fair to bring up. Bryant, what are you looking for from the offense against the Colts?
Yeah, so I think we need to return to form game a little bit from Rasheed Walker. He's going to need to play well, give Malik Willis as much time as he can, or run block for him up, to be honest, in the RPOs. Myers needs to step up because Malik Willis is going to be heavily relying on him to make some calls and give him some time. I do hope to see a more of a 50-50 split between Sean and Jordan. And then for the wide receiver room, they can't afford to make the mistakes they made this last week. I expect Willis to struggle in the passing game. So when those opportunities come their way, they need to make those catches and they need to try to make plays from them because, it's just not going to come easy. So, yeah.
Jake, what are you looking for from the offense?
Yes, I'm going to piggyback on that last comment. I agree. The wide receiver group as a whole, we are talking about the depth of this wide receiver group all off season. And this is the time for them to show that depth. Every single one of those people has to step up. The tight end room has to step up. I don't know what the hell happened to Luke Musgrave last week, but he's got to get his head out of his ass or out of the sand or whatever the hell analogy you want to use. He's got to get it going. The running backs, we know they're going to run the ball. That's going to be the game plan coming into it. It's going to be about a 65-35 split, in my opinion. If the offensive line is doing their job, we're getting a push up front and we're running the ball, controlling the clock. That's the way to do it. Just go to last week versus the Colts. The Colts lost the time of possession 40-20. It is the blueprint is there. Now, I understand that C.J. Stroud is the quarterback over there, and he can hit some mid-range throws and control the clock that way.
Well, the Colts had a couple big plays, which turns the ball back quickly, but still.
Right.
That's still really
They ran the ball well. They controlled the clock. Yeah, that's the end of the story. They had the ball for 40 of the 60 minutes. So 2/3 of the game they had the ball. So it's possible to do. So we're gonna have to look to that blueprint, try to control the clock, hit your mid-range. They need a Chris Middleton on this team right now. Hit your mid-range and let's get it going here.
So Bryant touched on something that I agree with, and I'm looking at another way to frame it. For me, I cover the passing game distribution. So normally we look for Love to spread the ball around. I'm looking this week for the wide receivers to execute at their best to give Malik Willis multiple places to go with the ball, so that he doesn't feel like he has to try to go to the last read on every play. And this is something I guess I can go back to with coaching, is to have Matt LaFleur telling Malik Willis to take what the defense gives you. So, and this is something that I'll have to watch really closely when it comes to passing situations, is to see what Malik Willis is doing as he's looking and progressing through his reads. If he's looking at something that's, say a 50% chance of success in his mind, and if he's moving on to it or if he's taking that. So those reads and the wide receivers giving him places to go with the ball. So this week, instead of the passing game being distributed, I'm going to be looking for the wide receivers to be available for Malik Willis.
And you make a good point there too, because typically you'd have your number one wide receiver, number two, where honestly I don't know that I trust Malik Willis to get more than like one or two reads. Well, the good thing about this offense is we don't know who the number one read is on that play. There's going to be a lot of plays where it's all completely different. So that, that's good. That our versatility here helps a lot, because the number one read is going to be not the same player every time.
Yeah. And that's something
Did you say number one read?
I see what you did there. Number one in the NFL, actually. And that's a good point too. Like, say the Packers had done Bleacher Report's stupid CeeDee Lamb trade. Now the Colts can go into this being like, okay, if we take CeeDee Lamb away, we can double cover him the entire game and make Malik Willis try to throw to wide receiver 3s and 4s. That's the kind of bind that you can put yourself in. Now, again, you don't know that Jordan Love is going to get hurt, but that's where we are today. So other than that, looking at the red zone now, my goal for this season is going to be around that 59 to 60% mark to get them into the top 10 in the league. Have to adjust and temper my expectations a little bit, where I'd still like it if the Packers ended up with 4 red zone chances again, like they had last week. I'd still like to see them convert on at least 2. I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility, regardless of who's playing quarterback, to expect a 50% conversion rate. So that's what I'll be looking for the red zone offense. I'd like to be around 60%. I think 50% is still feasible with Malik Willis. So that said, Simon, what is your matchup to watch?
I like the offensive line versus DeForest Buckner. He's still a monster D tackle in the league, and if this offense is going to succeed, it has to go through the run game. We can't. I don't want to use the word rely, but that's kind of the word I'm going to use, I guess. We can't rely on Malik Willis to win this game. I'd be very surprised if they put the game in his hands. So getting that, moving the defensive line up front is going to be huge for getting Josh Jacobs and company going.
I'm going to jump in right after that because mine is the Colts pass rush versus Adam Stenavich. For me, I'm recalling the Chiefs versus Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers had COVID. That's what I'm thinking of, and how heavily the Chiefs blitzed and if the Colts will be thinking they can do something similar to a Packers backup quarterback who's stepping in for somebody. So I threw that out there as my matchup to watch.
So
Brian,
I'll jump
matchup
in right after you because you're going to like what mine was because my matchup to watch is Matt LaFleur versus a game plan. I literally put Matt LaFleur have his backup better prepared than he did when he faced KC. So Matt LaFleur have to get into his bag, and I know you said not to run the tricks, but I think he's gonna have to get. Shut up, you guys. He'll have to get into his bag a little bit. Develop a good game plan to keep the Packers in this game. Find a way to keep the offense on the field. I do expect to see some RPOs and a decent amount of bubble screens. I do think they'll run plenty of end arounds. You're going to see end rounds run from the slot. You're going to see Wicks doing it. Maybe you're going to see Reed doing it. You might see Watson doing it. I do think they're going to dial up some deep shots to make the Colts so they can't just play in the box the entire time. But I do think you're going to see some, maybe if you have a fake punt in your bag of tricks here, you might want to use it this week.
Full send. Okay. Jake, what's your matchup to watch?
My matchup to watch is the Packers linebackers versus Anthony Richardson. Richardson is, I said it. He's their alien. The guy is absolutely a freak. He made one of the craziest throws I think I've ever seen in my entire life. That 60-yard bomb he threw to Alec Pierce, where he looked like Jordy Nelson on that play. I was like, holy shit!
Somebody said that.
Shit. That seriously was a top 5 throw I've ever seen in my life. He had no business where his feet were to throw it that high and that far. That is
a cannon.
Oh my God. I was going to actually bring that up. Bryant talked about Cooper looked like he was being shot out of a cannon. That ball literally looked like it was shot out of a cannon. That was ridiculous. So the Packers linebackers, I thought one thing that they struggle with was gap responsibility in the run game. They're going to have gap responsibility times 2 because they have to worry about Jonathan Taylor and they have to worry about Anthony Richardson. He's a better athlete than Jalen Hurts, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Right. Simon, who's your X?
He'll take some hits, though. I will say that. He got absolutely slammed by Houston a couple plays. So
yep.
I'm not saying knock him out of the game. I'm just saying if you get a chance to make him feel it, make him feel it.
All right. Simon, who's your X factor?
It's Malik Willis. For obvious reasons.
Yep. I have the same thing. I want to see how his running factors into the game.
Yep.
So, Bryant, what about you?
Yeah, Josh Jacobs. I mean, Joe Mixon absolutely killed the Colts last weekend. Can Josh Jacobs and company, do the same? I would like to see it. Hopefully Lloyd can play here too because you could see a lot of running this game. So,
yeah. Jake, who's your X factor?
My X factor is not a person; it's a thing, and it's limit big plays. They had 4 plays of at least 10 yards, and they had 3 plays of over 20 yards. They had a 60-yard touchdown pass, a 54-yard pass, and a 57-yard pass. Limit big plays.
It's a good one.
All right, Brian, what are the injury designations to watch?
Yeah, so I kind of alluded to earlier, Juju Banks, their second-round pick last year, who's actually really coming along. He got put on, unfortunately, you don't like to see it, was put on IR today with the season-ending knee injury. Obviously, Jordan Love, we'll see. I mean, are they going to do the thing where they let him play like 3 plays in practice so they can mark him as questionable and just mess with the Colts? I don't know. Wouldn't be the worst thing. If you listen to the San Francisco 49ers, you don't have to report injuries until your rookie running back, your undrafted free agent says it in the post game. But, we'll see what happens with that. And then DeForest Buckner tweaked something, but it sounds like early thoughts are that he's going to play. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And of course, it's a little tough doing it. It's good that we moved this to Tuesday, but for the injury, it's kind of basing on what we've seen in the games and what we've heard early right away after the games. I'm sure there will be at least a handful of players on the injury report tomorrow that we don't know that are on there. Hopefully nothing serious.
Yeah, and it might just be guys getting, a Wednesday rest day or something like that too, as far as veterans are concerned. Justin said X factor communication. For example, do not run the ball out of the end zone and waste time. Yep, that's fair.
That's a good
Jake,
one.
what's the weather going to be like for the game that we're going to be at on Sunday? Which, if anybody's watching this game or watching this show and wants to say hi at the game, let Jake and I know.
Yeah. So first of all, I got to tell you, the weather in Wisconsin's weird, dude. It was like really shitty last week. Seriously, it was like really shitty last week. And then this week, it's just like warming up. It's going to be like 90 degrees tomorrow for no goddamn reason.
Same thing in North Dakota.
Yeah, it's
same up here.
makes no
Yeah,
sense.
okay.
Sunday though looks like it's going to be 80. Showers in the morning, then partly cloudy in the afternoon. High near 80. Winds southeast at 5 to 10. Chances of rain about 50%. But if it rains, whatever, I don't care. I've been in there in the snow. I've been in there in the coldest cold I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm just going to be happy to be at Lambeau, dude.
Is it supposed to rain during the game?
It says in the morning. It doesn't specify the hours.
I mean, that might be advantage to us, to be honest.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it rains. It's just another excuse to not sit at all during the game.
I'm not sitting.
True.
I literally just got into this argument with my dad about not sitting. He's like, they pay for their tickets. Yeah, they're also 100 and they've been to 400 games. I don't give a shit.
Also,
They were at the Ice Bowl, Dad.
Okay. Going into score predictions, we always do 2, one from the head, one from the heart. Simon, give me your score prediction from the head.
I don't know, dude.
Here we go again.
Just,
I
what
know.
is going on in your head?
I know. Dude,
Oh my God,
I
you guys all treat it like it's the gun to your head about it.
do. That's the way I pretend because
Oh my
it's the
God.
head. It's the head prediction,
Yourselves up too
so
much.
I pretend there's like a gun to my head. I have 23-17 the Packers winning.
Ooh.
Bryant, score from the head.
I put 18-17, the Packers win.
Ooh.
So
So
I hate you, dude. I hate you.
Which one?
Who the hell says 18-17, bro?
Me.
going from the head, just
We're getting a
looking
safety and a mixed extra point.
just looking at everything considered, I have 20-17 Packers.
Ooh, I like it. Okay, so apparently I'm the worst. Now I don't have much faith in our defense, but I have 26-24.
I mean, it's all
Us winning
pretty
or
similar
us
margin of
losing?
victory.
Yes, I was winning.
Okay.
Justin asks, "Saw we signed another wide receiver, Luther. What's that about?" They basically
practice
swapped
squad
out practice squad wide receivers.
Yeah,
Yep, they let
Wayne
one
is
go
gone
now.
now.
Yeah, they let go of.
Wayne.
We cut Reggie Wayne's nephew as punishment for having to play the
Yeah,
Colts this
I'm
weekend.
forgetting what his first name is.
I forget his name too.
Drawing a blank on his first name.
We thought he was an insider this week, so we cut him.
Okay. Simon, what's your score prediction from the heart?
27-13 Packers.
Bryant?
Jesus.
24-14 Packers.
Ooh, I have 23-14.
Jeez, man. So sorry, I write all the score predictions down every week. So from the heart, I have 29-21.
I like it.
Green Bay.
James asked how we feel about Willis. I'm just checking in now if you've already talked about it. Yep, we've already talked about it, so we're going to ignore your comment. No, I'm just kidding, James.
You can watch the replay.
we're all interested to see what the Packers do with him, and we all like his athletic ability and are interested to see what Matt LaFleur does with the game plan for him.
We think, with the proper game plan and the defense stepping up, we think we can win with them. We can get through these couple games.
Yep. Justin said head 24-21, heart 28-21.
Okay.
So Colts are scoring 21 points in Justin's mind. All right. Last segment before we let everybody get out of here is our Simon Says. So, Bryant, you have one on offense, one on defense?
Yes.
Okay. Give me your offensive Simon Says.
So after we talked about all we're going to do is run the ball, I went opposite. I put that Malik Willis will throw for over 200 yards, throw for 2 touchdowns, and run for another one.
Ooh, that is.
I thought you were gonna say Malik Willis throws for 300 yards. I was like, no, you said 200.
200, 2 touchdowns, and runs for another one.
Oh, I could see that.
That'd
Yeah,
be
that's
filthy,
fine.
actually.
Yeah.
That'd actually be
I can see. I think 200 is pretty realistic.
You would say that now, but did you see the passing yards from the quarterbacks last week, bro? There was like
Yeah, horrible.
there was like 14 quarterbacks under 200 yards, dude. It was insane.
Yeah, there was a couple of them under 100 yards. One for sure.
Oh, I was gonna say,
Who
was there
that?
2 of them? Bo Nix threw for under 100 too.
Oh,
I think.
wonder who else did it.
Who is the other one?
Who was
Take
it?
a guess. Take a wild guess.
Do you know?
Take a
Yeah, I know.
wild guess, Simon.
I know. No, I know.
So you say 200 isn't a lot, Simon. What if I told you in his game that he He played the. Oh God, this is bad. In 2022, when he played his most games, his highest passing yards in a game was 99.
Oh,
Okay, but all right. So I'm making a little leap where he's played more NFL football, practice more, and I don't know. I feel good about our weapons enough to where I
In
don't
fact,
feel like
he's never
200
thrown for more than 100 yards in a game. So that's my bold prediction: is he's going to get more than 100.
Christ, dude. I swear, if he comes out and throws under 100 yards, like
Yeah, James, the Bears got saved by a lot of stuff.
they got saved by what's his name, Willis, the other Willis.
Did you
They
see
got
what
saved
Bill
by
Belichick
defense
said
and
about that today? And I thought it was a really good point. He said him and Tom Brady would talk about those types of plays all the time. And what's the best outcome? A yard or two. What's the worst outcome? You lose the game.
it's very true.
Yeah, I'll give that a thumbs up because my bold prediction was Malik Willis has 3 touchdowns.
Nice.
Okay, I like it.
Scott said, "Do we stand a chance with Lovo?" I think so.
Yeah, I think the next 3 games are pretty winnable, even without Love.
Yep.
Like Malik Willis would have to
Makes
be
it
pretty
hard.
terrible for me to change my mind.
To not even have a chance, to not be in the game, he would have to be pretty terrible.
Um,
And if that's the case, then they put Sean Clifford in pretty quickly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Scott said Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is the other one.
Yeah, I know. I was
We all know.
being facetious.
We all love it very much.
West said another 3 turnovers. We got a chance. Another 3 turnovers, and I think we should beat the Colts. The Eagles
think
are a
so,
good
too.
team,
You shut up,
and
Wes.
all the people saying things like the Packers should have put this game away in the first quarter. The game was never going to be put away in the first quarter, even if they have touchdowns in the first.
Oh,
3 drives. They're
Bo Nix threw for
that game is
138.
still not over in the first quarter.
I thought Bo Nix threw for under 100. He had 138
It was
yards.
only Caleb.
Yeah.
He's,
Bo
a-
Nix-
he's
Williams-
one of a kind, dude. Didn't you know?
I mean, he also threw the ball 42 times.
That'll do. Okay. James said, "You know what's funny? I remember an analyst one time saying good QBs know when to take a sack. Elite QBs know how to take a sack."
I would say I'm an elite QB.
I bet you are. Okay. So mine, Justin said clock management would be another X factor this week. Time of possession was brought up, Justin. So that is absolutely something that was brought up. My offensive, Simon says, isn't something that's really super bold, but I just put Malik Willis 2 touchdowns, and then I added the what's the word? The additional point that there will be no turnovers also.
Yeah. I think there's a shot for it.
If I had gone before and Brian's, that would have been a little bit more of a better discussion point. All right, Jake, give me yours on offense.
The Packers have 3 trips to the red zone and score 3 touchdowns. 3 for 3 in the red zone with Malik Willis, dude.
That'd be sick. I'm gonna
With
say
3
probably
touchdowns. Malik Willis.
Probably not.
Probably.
All rushing.
That's
Now we're
fine.
getting bold. All right, let's go to defense. Brian, what are you thinking on defense?
So I put the Packers get 3 turnovers again, and 1 results in a touchdown.
Hey, there you go.
So scoop and score or pick 6. Pick 6.
Picking 6. I'm down for it.
Picking 6.
Well, pick and 6. You know, he gets to pick and then he gets to pick.
Oh my
And then
I
we
hope
go
that
for 2 and
happens
we'll get
because
it.
immediately when it does,
Jeez.
I'm going to be going to our group chat. It's going to say picking 6 on it. It's going to be tough to beat Andre's Nissan.
Andres doesn't play for the team anymore.
It's still funny. Still going to be funny forever.
That'll be funny forever, dude.
My bold prediction for defense is the Colts are under 100 rushing yards.
Oh,
Ooh.
that would be insanity.
All right. So when we take a 25-point lead, what did they rush for last
I think
week?
they didn't have a lot last week.
No, Richardson ran more. He had the
Richardson
most.
had more rushes.
They had 104 total.
Yeah.
No, Richardson. Taylor had 16 carries,
More yards. Sorry.
but Richardson had more yards.
Yeah, they had 22
Yes.
for 104, so they had 4.7 yards per carry. So my bold prediction on defense is under 100.
Total or Ooh. That's close. Sure, give it to me. I think it's possible. I think they're less of a talented offensive line than Philly. I thought we did a decent job.
I agree with that. And they held the mobile quarterback in check, which was my other part of it. With Richardson going 6 for 56, the Packers did a good job on keeping Jalen Hurts from affecting the game with his legs too much.
Yep.
James said Anthony Richardson reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger in terms of his size playing quarterback, and he's hard to tackle because of it. He's more mobile than Ben, though.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Jake, what about you on defense?
So, to my own horn here, I correctly, in Simon said 3 turnovers last week, and we got 3 turnovers. So you're welcome for that. So I'm going to speak it into existence again, but I'm going to add something on there.
6
turnovers and 5 sacks.
Oh,
Halfway left the dogs loose, my boy.
That's super bold. That'd be tough to do all that.
You said no last week too, so just keep the tradition going so I can speak.
Yeah, all right. So no.
Let's go no.
All Jake's predictions. They're never coming
There could
true.
be strip sacks. Justin said his favorite thing about last week was seeing Bullard knocking on his ass. Yeah, that was good times. All right. Well, there we have it. Our Packers versus Eagles recap and our Packers versus Colts previewed. Again, Jake and I will be in attendance, so if you're going to be there as well, let us know and we'll say hi. Other than that, thanks you guys for joining in on another Tuesday night. All of our shows are going to be on Tuesdays this week. I will be back tomorrow to go through the Brewers and the Badgers, and then Jake and Mike are going to be live on Thursday, actually, so I'm taking my talents to still on Wednesdays, and Jake and Mike are going to go on Thursday. Jake had a little bit of a schedule rehash this week, so Jake's going to be live on Thursday for that. Other than that, Jake, myself, Simon, and Bryant will be back on next Tuesday, and we will see you then. Thank you, everybody, for the comments. Yes, Wes, as always, go Pack, go. We will see you guys next Tuesday. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.
Go back.